It's that time of the week again for the Gift of Gaming podcast. And on this week, we're talking mobile, on the go, handheld gaming. It's going to be a good time. What's up? It's me, your host, Darren Wade, and today I'm joined by Craig, the Critical Nolan. Craig, how the hell are you?
I'm good, Darren, especially now that I have this really hot cup of tea.
Yeah, a fresh cup of tea
really
for our
makes
chests,
the difference, you know?
Yeah. What have you been playing of late?
Right. Well, I gave up on Little King's Story. I think I referenced that last week or the week before. In the last few days, I've been playing No More Heroes 3. I played the first two on. It was a Wii game originally, the first one, and then the second one came out on the Wii as well, or the Wii U. I'm not sure. I can't really remember.
So do you still have your Wii connected?
No. This luckily came out for the Switch, but they ported it onto the PlayStation, which I didn't even know.
Nice.
And now it's on the free games list. So I was just able to download it for free, and I've been playing away. And I'm delighted I got it for free. Because I definitely
wouldn't pay for it.
I've paid for it, because even on the Switch, I had my Switch chipped, so I was able to get it the proper Japanese version that had all the blood and the gore. Because the EU version had you kill them and they turn into coins, and I was just like, that's not nearly as visually satisfying as just seeing all the blood pour from their heads and stuff like that.
Nice.
But with number 3, I feel that we've missed a lot more than that. And mainly it's just because this was clearly made for the Switch. So, it's a big open world, which is barren everywhere. There's nothing. And, there's the 3 or 4 NPCs you do see. They all look the same. They give you the same quest. It's very much feels like a game from 10, 15 years ago, you know? But, they released it now. And, the graphics are a little better, especially because I played a lot of Final Fantasy VII and Remake and Rebirth, and the combat is exactly the same as that, but you only play as Travis. And now Remake has just, gotten that down to a fine... it's absolutely crisp on Remake and Rebirth, whereas No More Heroes is a little bit wonky. You have to still, after a few attacks, you have to charge the remote to, build up your power again, and it's not as satisfying. Now, it is still great because if you do a wrestling move, it instantly charges your controller for some reason, and the combat is wacky and fun, but the writing isn't as good as the first 2 games. I'm still early days, so maybe I'll do a proper review of it, but I'm a little disappointed that the real Travis touchdown wackiness isn't quite there.
So you're currently playing it on the PlayStation, you said,
yes.
Was it? So when you say charge the controller and stuff like that, is that because there's motion?
So the main character uses a beam katana, like a lightsaber, and on the Wii, that was your Wii remote, which is pretty cool, katana, which was awesome because you actually had to do the motion controls. Whereas now, when you're killing people, it just says / press right on the right stick or press left, and it's nowhere near as satisfying because you don't swing with purpose.
Because when you said they'd ported it for the Switch, I was like, oh yeah, Joy-Cons, I get it, makes sense. But yeah, for the PlayStation,
they ported it for the PlayStation, and the motion control thing now is just very lackluster. You just hit randomly right or up or down, and it just doesn't feel like you're doing. It didn't feel like you were doing it in the Wii or Switch either, but just given that kind of flick of the wrist felt satisfying.
Yeah.
But the writing has taken a bit of a backseat. I think the rise of those Yakuza games has kind of pushed this one to the side because now there's more of that type of wackiness.
Yeah.
Because it's very much like that, just shit.
We even had a little bit of that in Rebirth. Do you know what I mean? The Yakuza style was kind of slipping into that.
And even the stuff in Rebirth seems almost wackier than the No More Heroes stuff. So, I know I'm only about halfway through, but it's becoming a bit of a chore now, you
never want that with your video games.
Yeah, I don't want that.
I am still playing through Baldur's Gate. I just went and defeated the Hag in a totally different, fun way, whatever.
Nice.
So it's going well. I hope I will continue to play through this session. But the problem I have with Baldur's Gate, same problem I had before, it's how easy it is just to, get fucked up and die.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere for no reason. Going into this...
just walk into a trap.
That's it. And that,
instantly. Yeah. Especially
the Hag's place is absolutely laced.
All that poison mist in there. Oh, man.
Yeah, and I read, I was looking up online because I ran through and everyone got wrecked, and I started the Hag fight, and a couple of people died. I was like, no, fuck, I don't want to have to. I'm going to just reload and try again. And I actually tried to work out the traps, but I couldn't figure it out. So I went online to be like, how do I do this? And someone was like, you need incredibly high perception on your characters because they need to identify a vent in each gas cloud to which you have to throw something on it to cover the vent or whatever else. And I went through the whole thing and I did it, but I was like, that took way too long to
figure that out.
Well, to figure it out, or to exactly, it's not fun.
Some of those puzzles are like that. I always find D&D puzzles just in general. It's like, oh, turn this statue and turn this. I'm like, they want me, like, this is a simple room that should only take me about 5 minutes to get through, but if I actually take the time and figure out the puzzle as they want me to do it, it's going to take an hour.
Yeah.
And I feel like that wasn't worth it.
No, and it all comes down and depends on your stats. So like my perception on my lead character just wasn't high enough to identify so many of those things. Yeah. So it was like perception failed, and I'm like, oh, I know there's something there now, but I haven't seen it.
Could you at least see the gas?
I could see the gas, yeah.
Because I couldn't see the gas. I think that was a glitch on my Baldur's Gate 3. I couldn't see shit. Like, I'd walk in there and I'd be like, why are my characters getting hurt? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Outrageous.
None of the explosion has even happened yet, but they were just taking damage and dying, and I couldn't figure it out. But that was where my game had glitched.
It's a cool miss. And so I know this isn't game talk, but I'm curious to know, this is the week of Wolverine, Deadpool and Wolverine in the cinemas.
You couldn't resist, Darren.
I couldn't resist. No,
we were talking about this off air, and now you brought it into the...
Yeah, I know. And it's not a video game thing, but I'm curious to get your opinion on, do we think we're going to get a nice refresh to Marvel, or do you think this is going to be... Do you think this is going to be a good Marvel film?
They can't mess with it too much. They're just going to reference it a few times and maybe see a couple of characters, but they're not going to do anything substantial.
So you think it's going to be a fun romp?
It's a fun romp, yeah. But like, I bet you even Kevin Feige's like, don't touch what we've done. You know, like, just don't fuck with it. You can reference me, which they've done.
Yeah.
You can joke around at any of the characters you want, but you can't impact the story we're telling. I'd say that's like the rule number one.
Yeah, because in the trailers I've seen certain characters from certain like TV shows and other movies, and I'm like, oh, does this actually have anything to do with the main? But like, I'm like, yeah, they can. Yeah. I mean, they couldn't have Deadpool touching this. It's just too. He's too much of a nuisance as it is. Yeah. But I'm very excited. We're going to hopefully maybe go see it tomorrow.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and check it out, and hopefully...
I think it'll be a very good standalone-ish kind of movie with references to the MCU.
And we get a Hugh Jackman Wolverine in the original OG.
Just seeing what they all do together could be fun, like,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen it yet still, but have you watched the trailer for Captain America Brave New World?
I have not. Look at you going again. Another movie.
What kind of podcast do you think we're on? Sorry, we'll get to the actual brass tacks here, which is a...
But no, I haven't seen the trailer, sorry. Otherwise, I would comment. But because I haven't, I'm just disappointed in you.
I'm sorry. I'll rein it in. We have got... on this episode, it is handheld gaming. That's what we're gonna talk about. So this is... I mean, I don't want to have any sort of kind of like strict... what would you say... rules, exactly. Yeah, thank you. It was just going to be a straight up chat about handheld games. I've written down like everything that I've played since I was young. But tell me, Craig, what was the very first handheld thing you would have had?
Oh, I actually do have a story for that, although I didn't prepare it in any way. But I bought a Game Boy when it first came out. I don't know, 91 or something.
The chunky Game Boy original?
The big chunky fuck off Game Boy, yeah. But I got a cool cover for it, so it looked black because the cover was black. But it came with Dr. Mario and Tetris or something. Now, I didn't like Tetris, but I didn't know I didn't like Tetris at the time. Mm-hmm. So I played a bit of Tetris, and after about 5 minutes, I was like, well, this is just a board game or whatever, blah, blah, blah. This sucks. And I was like, all right, here we go. Dr. Mario, let's see what this is about. And it's just Tetris again.
And a Dr. Mario,
but with
Dr.
these
Mario
little
skin.
Fucking, you know, like medical capsules that fall down. I was like, oh my God. So I don't have any game that I like or can play. And about a year later, someone made their confirmation in my school, Stephen Gormley, and he was like, hey, you never play your Game Boy, right? Can I buy it off you? I was like, yeah, deadly. And he offered me like a lot of money. Like, I'm 11 years old. To me, this was a big amount. I'm not going to say how much it was, but I remember my man getting mad at me. He's like, you can't take his money. Now, if you really want to get rid of it, you can take half that. I was like, what do you mean half? He's offering this. He just made this confirmation. He like all this for the Game Boy.
He's got that confirmation money,
Mom. My mom is very good natured. She'd never like to rip anyone off or anything like that.
Okay.
I like to think that, you know, some of that is rubbed off on herself. So I was disappointed in giving it to him for the £40, but I did, like, you know, and I sold my Game Boy and like never wanted to see it again. I was like, this was the biggest waste and absolute disappointment. I can't believe I bought this.
So at that time,
a year later, Pokemon came out.
I missed that train.
I was fucking devastated.
So what was your video game console at the time? Like, what were you playing aside from...
I'd been playing, I guess, the Sega Mega Drive, the N64, or the PlayStation, depending on timing. I mean, kind of overlapped.
Being able to play the things handheld would have been great, but not fun when it's just Tetris.
But,
and Tetris 2.0 or Dr. Mario
until
Tetris.
Pokemon came out, I'm adamant that like all those Kirby games, those Mario games, they just look way better on the Mega Drive not on the Mega Drive obviously, but on the Super Nintendo and N64. Mm-hmm. And I think I'd already started 3D gaming, so I was like, I don't want to go back to this 2D. Like, the idea of playing Super Mario Bros. 3 when I was 11 or 12 was laughable to me. I'd be like, oh, that's a baby game, for babies, get out of here.
And here I am in my mid-30s
yeah,
still
but once
playing that
things
game.
went 3D, I was like leaving that world behind,
Yeah. Well, that's that. I mean, and I guess Pokemon would have been the absolute kingpin of handheld.
And by then the
at that
Game Boy
age.
Color was out, so I bought that instead.
So, what color was your Game Boy Color?
I got the weird looking kind of see-through one that you could see all the wires.
The kind
and
of the
stuff.
purpley kind of see-through.
It was
one?
a kind of purpley looking one, but you could see all the wires and all the bits and gadgetry and stuff like that.
I was lime green.
You went lime
I
green.
went the lime green.
Yeah,
I love this. I love that.
I'd expect Andy Wade to get a lime green. That's kind of surprising.
No, so the fun thing about it, because I'm quite excited to do this episode, because for me, handhelds in general were my thing. Like my brothers had the consoles, the player 1, player 2, and I always left to kind of.
And you
sit
relegated
on my own.
yourself to the background.
But it was cool because like I was the only one who played the handheld games. I was the only one who played like the Mario Lands, the Pokemon and stuff like that. My first handheld was the Game Boy Pocket, which is just the revamped version of the Game Boy original, but just to make it smaller.
It's kind of like a Game Boy 2.0.
Essentially,
like 1.5 type thing.
A cool story about the Game Boy, though, and I wonder to this day, could it have been, because you said, what was it, Stephen? This guy Stephen bought your Game Boy original?
Yeah. I'd love to get it back off him.
So Graham, my brother, because like we're just next door to the school that we all would have gone to school. We're like, he'd
know Stephen. He was in his class too.
So here's the interesting thing. Graham found, so we didn't have a Game Boy up to this point, but he found in that schoolyard a Game Boy original just on the ground, like after hours, a little bit beat up, no battery pack cover thing on the back, no batteries in it, a bit of a cracked screen or whatever, and I can't remember. I wish I knew which game was in it. I'm thinking maybe Super Mario Land 1, the original. And so this is my first experience of handheld, but he brought that back, like snuck it in, didn't tell my mom, because obviously he's definitely like that. Someone owns that, and he's definitely robbed it, like, But he brought that back, and I remember picking it up, being like, "This is the most amazing thing ever." But it was a bit dodgy; it had obviously fallen, and it was a bit cracked. But I was like, "This is so cool." Hence why, when the moment I saw the Game Boy Pocket was a thing that existed for Christmas, my birthday, whatever it was, I got it that year. But I remember.
So you saw this wrecked Game Boy and we're like, I want one of those. Look how wrecked it is.
Well, no, because I really enjoyed Super Mario Land 1, like to play it on it. And what I found was really interesting.
So he got it working and stuff.
No, we were able to play it. Yeah. It just wasn't exactly sleek or new looking. Do you know what I mean? But no, I was able to play Super Mario Land 1. And what was cool about it and what really blew my mind was there were my two brothers playing, Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo, whatever it was at the time, maybe even the PlayStation 1 by then, I can't remember. But player 1 and player 2, so there's no space for me. But what's this? I can take this and still hang out with them and like play this game to the side.
You can be in the room.
I can be in the room, yeah. But I still find that quite exciting, like that I could be in the room and playing the games with them. So that was very, very cool. But Game Boy Color was my first kind of, like I had the Game Boy Pocket, didn't really, but Game Boy Color, because it was that and Pokemon, and I got hooked onto the Game Boy Color and batteries and accessories and all that kind of stuff. I kind of wrote down all of the handheld games I've ever played and gave them a ranking.
Oh, nice.
Now, I won't go into that, but would you like to hear my top 10 starting from 10? Okay, this you have
a top 10 like of all handheld, or is it like Game Boy Advance? Like
no, it's all the ones that I've played. So I think I have 11. I've played 11 handheld devices throughout my years. Now, not including like Tamagotchi and stuff like that. I don't know if we want to include those kind of handheld games, right? But I have 10 here, right? So starting off at number 10, and I'm gonna use the Game Boy Color. I'm gonna take out Game Boy Original, Game Boy Pocket, right? So my number 10 is the mobile phone. Like it's my least favorite handheld device to play video games. To
even like acknowledge that as a handheld,
I know, it's disgusting. No one wants
pathetic.
it. Yeah, no one
Get
wants
rid of that. You have a top 9.
Top 9. So starting from my top 9, number 9, Nintendo DS.
DS is your number 9.
Yeah,
that should be your number 1.
The Nintendo DS.
The Nintendo DS is the best handheld.
No, my God, are you outrageous? Nintendo. No. Okay, right. Well, bear with me.
This
here, right?
is outrageous.
Right,
I can't
number
believe
9.
We've come to this already.
This crossroads. Like the moment I start. So that's my number 9. My number 8 is the Game Boy Advance. My number 7 is the Anbernic RG35XX, which is that like retro gaming thing that has all of the inbuilt games into it. I think I showed you before.
Don't care, piece of shit. How could you say that's better than a Game Boy Advance? Like, just because it has this, it's this little cheap Chinese plasticky thing.
So
that has all these built
your
games.
one is, but mine's better than my one's. I think is a
Yeah, a little
better
bit, but it's not
quality.
even an authentic console with its
No.
own games. This is just some cheap knockoff,
give them-
and you're going to favor it above the original?
Yeah.
That's blasphemy.
No. You'll see why in a moment. You'll see why in a moment. So that's my number 7. My number 6 is the Game Boy Advance SP. Right, because we're talking improvements.
Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Advance SP. It's just a one. It's like, you know, it's just one console, Darren. You should have had a top 5. This is way too.
My number 5 is the
You're just padding it out already.
My number 5 is the PlayStation Portal.
Fuck you.
Not portable, PlayStation Portal. My number 4, the Nintendo Switch.
Number 5 is PlayStation Portal.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have even been included on the list.
I can
This is
play-
a rare opportunity, Darren, for us to talk about handheld games, and you've shoehorned the PlayStation into it immediately.
The PlayStation Portal is a handheld
It's
device.
technically a handheld device, but it has no business in this discussion.
I was
Like,
able to play.
We're talking
I
about
was able
Game
to play-
Boys and Game Boy Advances and how great they were, and you're like, I played fucking Horizon last week on my
that's-
Portal.
Like, amazing. Like, I can do that, which is the coolest thing, right? So that's my number 5. My number 4 is the Nintendo Switch.
You've ruined the episode, Darren, and everyone is disappointed in you.
My number 3, the Game Boy Color. My
Okay.
number 2, the PlayStation Portable, the
Fucking
PSP.
hell.
That's my number 2. And my number 1, the Nintendo 3DS.
So the 3DS is amazing and the DS is terrible. How did you get that comparison?
Because I can
Did you
play.
look at the games?
I can play everything.
So the DS is better than the 3DS for one reason, and that is that the 3DS is pointless because there's no games in 3D. That was a gimmick that they got rid of
There was
within
loads
a
of
year.
games. Well, I mean, the games that I really enjoyed. So one of my favorite handheld games of all time ever is Super Mario 3D Land. I think
That's a
platformer
really
games.
good game, but you turn the slider down almost instantly. You know, like you'll play it for a few minutes on 3D and be like, "Whoa!" and then your eyes hurt, and then you turn the slider down.
No, even
That's
when,
exactly how
even
you
when
do
my
it.
eyes hurt, I still
No,
play
you
this
weren't.
shit.
You're a liar. You're just
no.
like, "Oh, I was suffering pain."
So my top 3 are the 3DS, the PlayStation Portable, and then the Game Boy Color. That's my top 3 of handheld video games. Thank you. You're welcome.
That's outrageous. It does. The PlayStation. So you put the PSP in as number 3.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be
PSP is
amazing.
number 2. Number 3 is the Game Boy Color.
That's so disappointing. Okay. The PlayStation Portal is a piece of shit. And the PSP, sorry, the original.
Yeah.
Why do they have the same initials?
I
I'm
know,
just
it's-
realizing
it's-
that now.
No, it's the stupidest thing. I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they called the
But
new one the
PSP
Portal. Yes, which
was
is
a
fine.
shit console where games went to just it's like the developers are like, oh, let's tinker with this game while we aren't ready for the main series yet.
Yeah,
Let's
and we
make a
got
shit
loads of
Metal
extra
Gear
games.
Solid that's not as good as 5 or 3, but will be a nice buffer. Let's make a nice GTA game people can't get mad at us about if it's not that great.
But they were good. Vice City Stories, Liberty City Stories, they were good games.
Chinatown Wars was a great
Yeah.
game. And that wasn't the PlayStation. That was the DS. Your disliked console.
Oh, well, I could play it on the 3DS, so it was fine.
So The World Ends With You was on the DS. Was that not a U game? That was a very Square Enix.
It has characters that are involved in the Kingdom Hearts series. But
I've heard that.
I
yeah.
still even have it on the PlayStation now to play, but I still haven't played it. I still haven't gotten into it. I don't know if it's my jam as a game in terms of how it's like the.
Well,
the kind of
GTA
GDCs.
Chinatown Wars was a DS like game. It's considered one of the best. Mario Kart on the DS was, although I do think Mario Kart 7 is the best one. But
Do you think Mario Kart 7 is the best Mario?
No, Mario
Kart?
Kart 8 is now the best. But
Yeah.
Mario Kart 7 was the best.
Mario Kart 7 is probably one of my least favorite Mario Karts because when you go through the game, don't get me wrong, great tracks or whatever.
I mean,
standard
once they
tracks.
went from 16 to 32 tracks, I was like, okay, now the
Yeah.
game is twice as good.
And I'd agree with you on that one. But my problem with it was is that when you unlocked all the characters, so I love starting that game because you played it and then all the CPUs were the classic Mario characters.
Yeah.
But when you unlocked all the characters
Then suddenly you're playing against Wiggler and all this crap.
and Rob and
that
pointless
happens in
characters,
any
and
of
that
the
bothered
games
me,
now,
you
yeah.
know. But it really bothered me in
The,
7.
the only time they ever had a solution for that was Double Dash because you could use twice as many characters.
yeah.
'cause
So
there's
you're
two per
still
character.
getting. You're still
So I
getting
think
the original
every
team.
Mario Kart going forward should be a Double Dash. You know,
Amazing. Yeah,
just
yeah.
so they can get enough of them in the cast. I would just get rid of all the other characters. But so for me, the DS I think was my favorite because it had the Zelda Toon games. It had Hotel Dusk, Room 215, which was a deadly kind of murder mystery game I loved playing. I had Pokemon Black, which was one of my favorites. I think I had X and Y, and I had like a bunch of Diamond and Pearl. I had just so many during the DS's, because I think the DS was just out for so many years. It had GTA Chinatown Wars. It had Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story.
Yeah, that was a great one.
That was because I know they had one before that, but like I paid notice when that came out. I was like, oh my god, Bowser in an RPG and Mario and Luigi were inside him. It was such a great concept, such a great gimmick. And they had Bravely Default, which was like a Final Fantasy kind of like 6 or 7, kind of like Final Fantasy 5
Bravely
or 6.
Default
sorry.
was on my list because the 3DS version of Bravely Default looked amazing.
Okay, but it's just a
It looks
it's either
so
Bravely
good.
Default 2 or it's just a
Was
remade
Bravely,
version of
was
it.
Bravely Default the DS or was that the 3DS? I always thought that was the 3DS as a 3DS game.
I'm pretty sure because you could be right.
Because I remember the slider and the 3DS side that just
I'm
lagging
kinda
so
thinking
much.
the slide. Check out Bravely Default there, just in case I put it in the wrong category.
Bravely Default.
Because a lot of my argument went down to that.
Oh, get this silly thing off. It's a 3DS game.
Is it?
Yeah.
The first Bravely Default?
First, yeah. Two of them are 3DS
crossing
games.
Where DS and 3DS came out, I suppose.
See, you
so
should
maybe
have
they're both great.
You should have been safe like me because I just chose the 3DS because I got all the good 3DS games and I could still play all the DS games. You know, that's why I think it's.
I mean, the
superior.
3DS was a great console. It was just a DS, but with 3D
and AR. You know, augmented reality. For the first time, you could put your little Nintendo cards on the table.
I did like that.
And point your thing, and they'd come alive.
And they had Smash Brothers, even though it was the worst Smash Brothers ever, but it was still there.
It was the worst Smash Brothers ever, but and this is why the DS is so high up on my list, is because I got that Smash Brothers. Didn't have a Wii at the time because they came out. It was the Wii U and it was
3DS.
3DS
so they
version.
launched the 3DS version 6 months earlier because they knew everyone really wanted
to play it. Because I got it, and it was the only one up to that point before I had the Switch. Because I never had a Wii, I never had a GameCube. If I ever was playing Smash Brothers, it was because my brother's mate brought all that shit over with him for us to play. So for me, this was my very first Smash Brothers that I owned, and to be able to play it handheld. So it was a real special, like sitting down on the couch to play some Smash Brothers and going through that. I was like, this is fucking great, like, you know.
It was good fun.
But it is the worst.
The analog control on the DS and 3DS is just so terrible.
Yes.
You know, like that slider thing, and they just did that so it can fold down, but it just made walking. I'd so
say it probably exists, but I would have loved an attachment.
It does, but it wasn't compatible with every game. You know.
Oh, wasn't it?
You could buy that attachment. It was an official Nintendo product, but then it was only compatible with certain games.
Yeah, okay, classic Nintendo. We can't let them have everything.
But I don't have a top list. I would definitely say that, like, in terms of the Game Boy, I only played Pokemon Red, Pokemon Yellow, and Metal Gear Solid. Which was a brilliant game.
The Metal Gear Solid version.
Metal Gear Solid on the Game Boy,
and it was really hard though. It was a tough game.
Did you play it?
Yeah, because I remember getting stuck for ages. Do you remember there's the box factory?
Yes.
And you have to get into certain boxes,
the
S box, D box, whatever else.
The conveyor belt.
I was really young playing Metal Gear Solid, and that really confused me. Like really confused me. I had a really tough time getting through that. Like you know, but that's a great game.
It was a great game because. But it was one of those games where he knew that, like, it wasn't a new story. It was just a kind of, instead of Metal Gear Solid 1, we're doing this, but it's the same character, just like almost a different timeline.
Yeah.
Because the events of this
you
aren't
fight
canon.
Raven in a tank still and stuff in it, don't you?
No, you fight a bunch of bad guys who all have like a bird. Like there's this boomerang fella, and there's this marionette owl person who attacks you with an owl. But there's the main guy was Blackguard Viper, and he keeps setting loads of traps in the room and just run around the place. But I remember that name, Blackguard Viper, and me like, that guy's cool.
He's a villain I want to be.
And you fought the Metal Gear Solid with the Nikita rocket launcher, and there was even a scene where you had to identify a woman soldier, similar to the Meryl's thing in Metal Gear Solid 1. So it was very much like a carbon copy of that first game. But done really well. Like you had the codec, you had the save, you'd Mei Ling and the kernel to talk to. Like there was a lot going on. And
it looked really nice. Like I thought it was quite, because I mean at the same time Metal Gear Solid 1 probably was existing and my brothers were playing it while I was playing the
it was a Game Boy Color game.
Yes.
You know? So like you had those enhanced visuals.
And it was delightful to look at the time. Yeah, because that was like my brothers, Graham would have been playing Metal Gear Solid and I would have been playing this kind of like Metal Gear Solid knockoff almost, but it was great fun.
But it really was, and it suited the handheld because it was just running up and down and finding like level 1 key card, level 2 key card. Like I kind of enjoy that old simplistic approach to just getting the next key card or getting the next unlock to be able to go to the next area, like, you know. And it suited the whole 2D system of going up, down, left and right and finding doors. It just suited it quite well.
It's funny you should mention, because I have, like, when I was thinking of my top 3, I was like, what games were really special for me for those ones? And Metal Gear Solid I have for my Game Boy Color section. And I also have like the silly games here, but I was a kid. You know, you're kind of easier pleased. And I know these games are bad. Like I know if I played them now, they'd be really bad. But I spent hours playing The Simpsons Night of the Living Treehouse of Horror game, which is a really bad.
Have you looked up reviews for that? Would it shock your childhood immediately if you saw like how bad that actually is?
I'm sure it will. I'll check it. It's such a long name. Simpsons Night of the Living Treehouse of Horror. Oh, no, that was easy. Actually,
I only ask because it's a game I haven't heard of, and therefore I assume it's terrible.
Does it have a Metacritic? I wonder. It must do. It has a. It's got a 4.6 out of 4.6 out of 5 is pretty good.
That's a fucking amazing.
That's from Amazon though.
Fuck that.
Metacritic score is.
I never played any of those Simpson games. only the arcade ones back in the day, you know, the left to right beat 'em ups like the Turtles and stuff like that. I'm just like, there's no way you're just gonna take a very popular name like The Simpsons and attach it to a terrible game in the hope it'll
And
sell.
it was terrible. There is no score for it on Metacritic, but IGN gave it a 6 out of 10 when they reviewed it in 2001.
I mean, that's better than I would have thought. But the Game Boys and like the Nintendo consoles were notorious for like
The knockoffs.
movie games that were just unbelievably awful.
I was going through lists of games to like try and refresh. Like, did I have any of these, or like, you know, because it was so long ago. And the Game Boy had like, you know, the Amazing Spider-Man video game, and like all these fucking. I'm like, Jesus Christ, they look like they're dreadful games. Like, but I had that one, and I had there was a great game for the Game Boy Color, and I say great game, it was dreadful, but the customized thing in it was cool. It was Lego racers, so you built these Lego race cars. It was kind of top down, almost like a Scalextrics kind of thing, but you could build racetracks in it. But it was classic because it was a Game Boy thing. You only certain memories. So there was a bar in the top left. So anytime you placed a road, a big chunk of that bar was filled. So you couldn't build massive cool. It was like really limited. Yeah. But I remember playing hours and hours. It was one of those things that I just got hooked on as a kid. Lego Racers, like just so much of that.
Lego Racers.
And I had, you know, the Game Boy Color cartridges had that cool see-through thing in them as well. They were like because the Game Boy cartridges were just the flat ones, like the flat grey ones, and the Game Boy Color ones were the kind of see-through-y green ones with the little swollen bit at the top. They were like slightly different
they're still
cartridges.
the same shape and size.
Yes, yeah, they fit in. But yeah, I love those kind of weird games as well in the Game Boy. I got Pokemon, of course, Gold and Silver was Game Boy Color.
Game Boy Color, yeah, for sure.
And I played Red and Blue. Well, I mean Red. I didn't play Blue at the time. Like that's what I kind of played Red on. I consider it a Game Boy Color game as opposed to a Game Boy game because you can play it in color.
Well, because it was the same. It was just like the Game Boy and then Game Boy Advance for me is the next one. You know. Like, we don't need to say Pocket and Color.
Yeah, original Game Boy original. Like
because a Game Boy Color game will work on a Game Boy and vice versa. Like you know?
Yeah. The one, and this is a kind of more of a Game Boy game, but the one that I really loved that lots of people, it gets really divided, is Super Mario Land 2, because it was a really different Mario video game. Like all the skins were different. There's no similar enemies. There's no Goombas. There's no Koopas. It's all different enemy art styles. And the bosses were all different. There was no Bowser. There was none of the normal Mario stuff existed. And I loved that game.
Wasn't that because they just reskinned it at the last second just because Mario was popular?
Possibly, yeah. Just reskinned something else and threw it in. But I loved it. And it was like, Mario Land 2 with the 6 gold coins or something like that. But that game I played because it was loads of secret entrances and exits. And I remember that was probably one of the first game as a kid growing up where I probably 100%ed the game by finding all the little secret entrances and exits. But yeah,
I didn't think you'd be going back as far as Game Boy Color a lot with on your talking points, because I only like pretty much Red, Yellow, and Metal Gear Solid. That was it, and then I moved on to Game Boy Advance immediately because
in fairness, and I just think for me, because like Game Boys, the handhelds were always my thing growing up, so I had all of them, and like good thing
I had every single one of them. Not one did I miss other than the PSP, but that doesn't count because it's a piece of shit. Like
PSP was great.
Nintendo. It's not. It's like those type of games, those 3D games. Like there's no reason why they shouldn't be on a PlayStation 2. They're not designed for a handheld.
No, but
they just don't look good on a handheld.
But they looked, in fairness, for the time it came out, they looked like the Monster Hunter games.
I know, but the Monster Hunter is just a console game, but you're doing a downgraded version and then putting it on handheld just because it's cheaper.
But it looked so at that point. It
shouldn't be on handheld.
At that point, PSP. I can't remember what year PSP came out. So we're talking post PlayStation 2, right? So for me, I played the last Monster Hunter I would have played before I got on the PSP was the PlayStation 2 original Monster Hunter, which is way too hard and looked like average.
Yeah.
So for getting Monster Hunter for me on the PSP was an upgrade. Like for me personally, and like graphically and how the game played, was an upgrade compared to what I'd played prior to that, and I could take it anywhere. Like going down to Roscommon with Kev and Luke and sitting down, LAN partying on the PSPs, playing Monster Hunter for fucking hours. I was like, this thing is... I loved it. And it had fun games on it as well. Like Patapon, Loco Roco, who became kind of like a little bit like mascot-y characters. The PlayStation hadn't had anybody since like Crash and stuff like that. But Loco Roco and Patapon kind of had vitalized some of the PlayStation mascots, which I quite liked as well. And they were fun games. You tilted the PSP for Loco Roco, and Patapon was this like rhythm game. And then you could just play the GTA games. That I know what you're saying. Like up to like what? Vice City Stories and Liberty City Stories. Did we have San Andreas at that point? We did have San Andreas at that point, but San Andreas didn't look like anything amazing. And the games on the PSP
look better than
I think that from my memory, I think they looked as good as the San Andreas game.
The PS3 was already out, and we're building up to GTA 5. We could have had just more of that, more better.
Well, if you're looking for something like that,
stuff.
Craig, you need you already have invested the PlayStation Portal, and you can play GTA 5 all you want.
But what I mean is the reason I play games on the Game Boy is because they're a different experience to what I would have on console. I don't want a console game on my handheld. That's why even with the Switch now, I don't ever play a handheld mode because I'm like, it just looks better on the TV, so I'm going to do that. But if it's a game that suits having in your hands, like those Pokemons or those Advance Wars where it's a 2D screen, you know, and like just the visuals don't need to pop, it's better with the simplicity,
or
with
it's designed in
like
such a way
DS,
that it looks good for the handheld.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's why the DS is my favorite, because it had the 2 screens, and certain games actually use that like really effectively, like the Metroids or the Advance Wars, where like you would like one thing on one screen and maybe your map on the other screen, or a separate battle altogether. And I'm like, no other machine can do that, you know, other than a PC. But even then, it's not designed for it. You know, you're splitting your focus. This is like 2 things going on simultaneously, and it's a shame more games didn't really take advantage of that.
Advance Wars did a really special thing with that, where you had 2 separate battles going on.
The Advance Wars Dual Strike literally you had fought one army on one screen and one army on the other screen sometimes, or maybe it'll be a battle with like on the land on the bottom screen and an air battle on the top.
It was like
screen.
4D chess almost. It was
like
so
fantastic.
Good. Yeah. And I know this is kind of jump, but the 3DS for me, like the reason I love handhelds or got a real good kick out of handhelds is because my favorite video game series of all time pretty much existed across all handhelds, which is Kingdom Hearts. But Dream Drop Distance, I always remember the opening for that, because I had it like
I wondered if you'd be able to get through this episode without referencing the PlayStation Portal. I was like, surely he won't talk about it. Surely there's been so many opportunities to talk about PlayStation games over the past year, and we've never given any of the handhelds their chance. So Darren won't talk about the PlayStation Portal, and he won't talk about Kingdom Hearts. But then I immediately told myself, I bet he'll do both those things, and I'm going to call him out the second he does.
Well, here we are, not even half an hour into the episode, and I've called out both. But it was like on the 3DS, it was spectacular to like see that like the cutscene, the opening cutscene, falling through between 2 screens. So I mean, they even like did the opening to exist on 2 screens, stuff like that. I was like, that was, you know,
so I think 2 characters. It's just a shame you didn't actually play as them both at the same time.
Yeah,
you actually
like
just
top
switched
screen.
between them and did the same levels twice.
Classic.
Crap.
No, it was great. Dream Drop Distance is a good game, but yes, I think the dual screen. You're right. The fact that they didn't really use that as much as they could have. Like it's funny. Dual Strike was the only one I really remember using the 2 screens.
It's probably the only one I remember as well. But with other games, at least it was like with the Metroid, Samus Returns, and with other games, at least, because in modern gaming, you look at your map constantly. And so at least for the DS, having the map on the top screen, like you could see it in real time with just a quick glance, as opposed to having to press start or press an extra button, which I don't know if you remember, but like if you're doing that on the PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 3, like pausing a game and looking at your map might take 10 seconds. Like, you know, it wasn't like as spiffy and quick as it is now, like the PS5 loading times. Granted, on handhelds, there's been fuck all loading times because Nintendo do things like that. I'm sure the PSP would be very, very different.
Oh man, there were probably some. Oh yeah, like Monster had some pretty mean loading times.
I'd say
on
it fucking did. If you tried to even look at your map while you're running around looking for a monster, Jesus Christ, there's no way you can just glance up and see it. You know,
that was good. I'm trying to think what other I have on. I'm just about on the DS or 3DS. I have other games that I would have loved on this that they redid, and I got to play for the first time. Now were on the kind of 3DS, but Ocarina of Time 3DS and Star Fox 64 3DS.
Both launch games, I think.
I hadn't played them through like fully in their entirety because we never owned the Nintendo 64. So I think that's why another reason why I loved the 3DS, because I got to play these great kind of.
Yeah. Well, the 3DS had loads of N64 remakes.
Yes.
It even had Majora's Mask was in there too.
Yeah. And I have a really fun memory of playing Ocarina of Time on the 3DS and getting to the Water Temple, which was like the notoriously difficult. Everyone said, the Water Temple.
It's so bad.
But the mad thing about it was, and I remember to this day, I did a full run through of the Water Temple. And as I was going, I was like, I have no fucking idea where I'm going. And like that, I'd finished it. Mm-hmm. So everything I'd done, every decision I'd made was the right one.
It's not difficult to figure it out. It's just you have to raise water levels constantly. And getting to the places where you raise or lower the water levels takes a long time. So it's just cumbersome.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
It's not a particularly really difficult level. It's just a pain in the ass because you're constantly going through this area of the level that you've done 3 or 4 times already. And if you make a mistake and like raised it up by accident, you had to go back down and then go back down, like, because there was like 3 stages to the water. Like, it wasn't just up and down. There was multiple levels, and if you made a mistake, you had to go and fix it, which took 2 more goes, you know. So you're like, that's 10 minutes gone just because I accidentally pressed the button. Because
I remember reading in an old magazine, like Nintendo 64 magazine years ago, that there was they had this thing about like the Water Temple guide being like, you know, your breakthrough thing to get like, because it was like, this is the hardest dungeon and go and whatever.
It threw a lot of people off the game just because it's just such a pain in the
you
ass.
needed to have like the heavy boots to go down, wasn't it? Like you had to have the boots that would allow you to sink and stuff like that to run through it. Yeah. Great. Any other DS games that you have on your list?
I was a big fan of as I mentioned, the Luigi's Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. I thought it was an absolutely fantastic RPG. But like, other than Pokemon, we talk about Pokemon all the time, so I don't like ramble about it too much on this. But the Fire Emblem games really got me hooked because the handheld ones typically were way better than the console ones. That being said, there was very few console ones, bar the kind of Switch and Wii U.
Yeah.
But the GameCube one was actually very, very good, and the Wii one.
And DS had, or 3DS had
Awakening, which was like a massive reset to the series and really, really brought it in. Because the first one I played was the Sacred Stones, which I thought was absolutely amazing. But it was, you know, if your characters died, they were dead forever. There was no way around that. Whereas with Awakening, they introduced means of keeping them alive and playing in a different way. And you know,
and Awakening, I think to date would still be one of my favorite Fire Emblems, like Chroma Lucina and the time traveling sword thing.
And it's a cool idea that you having time travelers who are actually your children coming back, and depending on who you marry, their hair color is different. And their name, that's a very cool, interesting gimmick. You know, it's a shame they used it again in the next game, and I was like, fuck this. But at the time, that was a fantastic gimmick to have time travelers who would only appear once the parents had consummated their marriage. You know, it's just like, okay, now they've traveled back. Now they officially exist.
Yeah. You know? I'm trying to think what other ones I have here for the 3DS stuff.
Did you play, because you were a mass fan of the 3DS, so if you played the Zelda game, did you play though what I would consider the better Zelda game, because it's more in line with a handheld, and that was like A Link Between Worlds?
I did, and finished it, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was great, but
that for me is the example of a handheld game and a console game that's just put onto a handheld. You know, like A Link Between Worlds is very much a handheld game. You know, it's 2D. You can see all the sprites and the way the layout works. It's just, you wouldn't get away with putting that on like a console, because people are like, where's my fucking where's my €60 worth of fucking good shit, like, you know. Whereas on a DS or 3DS, it's fine because we accept that for some reason, you know,
because it can only do so much.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think I did play it, but there was something about, I think it was just the pure enjoyment I got out of it for finally being able to finish it years later, was Ocarina of Time. Like just that, and again, and
the visual upgrades were big. Like, you know, like if you compare it to the N64 version, like it is a big leap, you know. Yeah. So getting it as that fresh experience is kind of.
And Star Fox 64 on the 3DS was a great.
You can complete that game in an hour.
I mean, it's really, really quick. Like, but it was really, really enjoyable. Like, look great, and again, like just kind of like, because I mean, on the Nintendo 64, it does not look good.
No, it doesn't.
Whereas at least, because
I loved that. Like that was my game I got with my N64, and now we're talking about the N64. But like Star Fox, the original was a great game, and you could play a 4-player and like have like airships versus tanks. And if you completed every level and got a gold star on each level, you unlocked the ability to just run around with a gun, like be outside of your ship. To unlock that was next to impossible. Yet it was a massive multiplayer feature, like, you know.
That is mad.
But unlocking that was almost impossible, because on the Venom level, getting up the 300 points needed to get the gold star was so hard. The only way I managed to do it was with one of those controllers that could auto fire really quickly.
Oh yeah.
It was the only way I could do it. You know,
like with the turbo thing where you like hold the thing.
So I was just fucking mowing everything down like left, right, and center.
I loved it.
I was firing so fast.
Because I don't know if they still I'm assuming they still had that in the 3DS version, but I played it to finish it, but never, I wasn't a completionist about that game. But it was so good to go back and be able to play these games, and like it looked great, like the ships look great, the character models look great, do you know what I mean? So that was a really, really fun for me. So, and I know you don't want to.
I don't want to hear anything about the PSP or Portal. The PSP you can talk about, but the Portal, no.
No. The Portal, I'm
disqualified from this conversation, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
The Portal isn't in my top 3 again. I do want to talk about the PlayStation Portable though, because it had one of the better Tekkens on it as well. It had Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection, and it was like highly customizable, and it was the first one that went really heavily online as well, although the online on the PSP was like dodgy at best, you know. Probably worse than what Nintendo is currently. But I remember playing
Whoa.
I know. But I remember playing it at the time, being like, holy shit, like this is, because Tekken 5 was out on the PlayStation. Again, it's that thing where like, I want to play the game. So my two older brothers are getting first dibs or whatever else. They're playing Tekken 5, whatever. Like, I'm going to play Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection on my PSP. Like, fuck you guys. But that was really, really enjoyable. And then I have, again, like going back to being able to play games that would have been out way before they didn't get a chance to. But Final Fantasy Tactics. They did a really nice remaster of that for the PSP, and was my first experience with Tactics, and I thought that looked fantastic. Like that was a really enjoyable game.
It's a GBA game though, but yeah.
Oh, GBA, yeah. Well, okay, yeah, but
you played it on the PSP.
On the PSP, it was my first.
It came out originally for the Game Boy Advance.
Maybe I should be giving the Game Boy Advance the kudos, but no, I played it on the PSP and I loved it on the PSP. Do you know what I mean? And like, you know, if you had, and this is the great thing, Craig, if you had two PSPs, right, and you connected them to your PlayStation 3. And stuck them either side of you, you could play Gran Turismo with side mirrors.
But none of us have a grand to spend. Like, you did this as well with like Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. Like, no human being ever did that. Like, you know,
we did.
You guys, like, you know,
we got it
like,
done.
I didn't know one friend who had a GameCube. Everyone had a PlayStation 2.
Yeah,
so like finding like 3 pals to do all this shit
with all the cables
the Game Boy
and all the
it's just never gonna happen.
Yeah,
like, you know?
It was so funny. But yeah, no, I think the PlayStation Portable has always got a real fond place in my heart, especially as well because of the UMDs, which was like the movie discs that you could put in. So I watched Advent Children. Like I had a copy of Advent Children. I had a copy, like not good movies.
You could play movies.
Yeah. So you had your video game UMDs and you got like movie UMDs. So I actually have like at home, I have this box for Advent Children, and like a PSP box for Advent Children. You open it, it's the disc, and you put it in, you watch the full movie.
But is it a regular size disc? Or is this like a mini disc?
No, it's a mini disc it's just designed for the PSP.
So you can only play on the PSP.
Only play on the PSP.
You can only play this movie on the PSP.
On the PSP, yeah.
Why would you ever?
Because I could. But that was the thing. Because and that's what I mean. Like I was going on holidays to Spain.
There's no
with
way
the family.
many of them sold, right?
I have no idea. I don't know if the UMD part of the PSP was profitable for them or not. But we had like Unforgiven, Advent Children. I think a Tomb Raider movie as well. Angelina Jolie maybe.
At least it makes sense to have Advent Children or a Tomb Raider. You know,
yeah,
like, look at us putting the console.
But it was cool, like to
sit
on like the plane going somewhere and just put in my Advent Children and headphones on the plane, be like dun dun dun. You know, that was great. Like you know, and you could download games from your PlayStation 3 menu. So I actually had the PlayStation 3's port of Final Fantasy 7 to play on the handheld, which was my first experience playing any of the golden era of Final Fantasy, like 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever else, on a handheld. And I was like, this is amazing. The first time I could actually do that, you know. So that was really cool too. PlayStation Portable. I know you didn't like it, but it was good shit, you know.
Yeah, all right.
I'm trying to think of what else I have written down here. Pokemon for the 3DS, Kingdom Hearts. The Advance, I didn't give enough a shout for, but the Game Boy Advance SP, that was the first one with the backlight,
That was
right?
one with the backlight, yeah. I'm
That was a
delighted I
game
never
changer.
bought the Game Boy Advance. I actually waited and I got the SP because like my mate Leo had the Game Boy Advance. I was like, it just looks like a Game Boy Color, only wider, and I wasn't impressed. But with the SP, I was like, that is a game changer.
And the backlight made everything look just...
It popped.
Yeah,
like,
it does
like,
pop, yeah.
Because but everything before that looks so shit, as though like the lighting just is non-existent or something. Like
everything's washed out or something like that on the old ones.
And adds so much.
The SP for me, I always associate that, I don't know why, but with Mario Kart Advance, whatever Mario Kart was that was on the Game Boy Advance, I played the shit out of that Mario Kart and it looked amazing on the SP. That and Advance Wars and Crystal Chronicles, they would have been my big like SP games because we all had SPs to play
Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, and I was just like, I can't believe I can run in the puddles of water and they're blue, you know? Like,
everything
not only was
like
the colour there, but I could see rain coming down. I was like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah, it looked so good. I'm trying to think what else then I have here. The DS, 3DS, yeah, I mean mobile phones, we won't talk about that. It's a pity we don't have Chris here because I'd be interested to see about like the Steam Deck, how like handheld for modern video games.
Steam Deck as well should be disqualified. So if he was to even mention that, you cut his mic.
But you can hold it in your hand.
Yeah, no, but it's a console, but like that's also handheld. Darren, we never give these handheld consoles a spot ever when we're talking, and you also want to cut down their like discussion time by throwing in the PlayStation 5 and all this type of stuff.
I'll return
like,
back.
Isn't this a rare opportunity?
It is.
You're squandering it.
So do you mind then if I talk about... I know we do a lot of talking about Pokemon, but do you mind if I talk about the Pokemon trading card game for the Game Boy Color? because I don't know why I love that.
Go ahead.
Because I couldn't.
If it's on the Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
For a second, I thought you lost your mind. So you can't talk about the Pokemon cards.
No. But I mean, it was funny because in school it was like the Pokemon card game was such a craze. Like everyone was trading Pokemon cards.
Massively.
It's wild.
I'm delighted I didn't get into that because Colin and Kira lost a lot of money.
Spending big bucks. So I was big on that, like opening the packs and getting your energy cards and everything like that. But it kind of came and went in a real big, like almost like flash, like 2 years. I mean, 2 years maybe seems like a long time, but 2 years and it was done, it was dead. But I had the Pokemon trading card game on the Game Boy Color, and I was doing my best to collect everything on that because it had kind of dissipated in the schoolyard, and I was like, oh, but I'm personally not ready for this to be finished.
Like, hey, look what I have. I was like, where are they? No, they're on the screen.
Look at the shiny Charizard on the screen. Aren't you impressed?
I was the very same with because Yu-Gi-Oh was a fortune, but at least it was a good game of fun to play.
Yeah, like
and I watched the shit out of the anime, and I like wanted to be just like Seto Kaiba, that arrogant dickhead who would like the villain and things.
Yeah.
Like he was my absolute hero. Like, but I'd play the shit out of those games just so I could unlock all the cards without having to spend money.
I mean, it's not a bad idea.
In reality, like buying a pack, like just a booster pack would cost you like €6 to €10. Like, you know,
it's crazy money.
And you got maybe one good card out of that. Like,
but
so
there was something so
hundreds.
satisfying. I'll never forget. On the way to school one day, I think it was the morning of my birthday, my mum stopped off in the shop and picked up a booster pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards for me to open.
Sweet.
But I didn't open them in the car. I waited till I got into the schoolyard, and then I was with Kev and Luke, and we were waiting to go into class. You line up in your lines before you go in, and I was like, guys, I got a booster pack for my birthday. Woo. And I opened it up and I was shuffling through the cards. I had this like shiny it was like the Dark Magician, but it was like I keep forgetting what the name was, but it was like an evil Dark Magician kind of
Magician of Black Chaos.
Magician of Black Chaos or Dark Chaos. Yeah, I got like turning him over on the card, and I was like, oh my god! But that feeling when you knew you got like a banger of a card to like either trade or hold on to. But yeah, I needed to get my fix in the trading card game, and handheld gaming let me do that through Game Boy Color.
I got every Yu-Gi-Oh game. Even now, I have like the one on the Switch, just because it has all the cards, you know. And I'm like, I still play it every few months now and then, just to add a couple of cards to my deck or whatever. But because the Yu-Gi-Oh card game was actually a really, like, it wasn't just here's electric energy, here's spirit energy. You know, it was a really good strategic game, kind of like Magic the Gathering.
Because the battle system and playing the Pokemon cards wasn't good.
Rubbish.
Like, I mean, it was a
they're
trading
collecting
card.
for the sake of collecting.
Yeah,
really.
and trading.
The game itself wasn't very good.
But I remember having Yu-Gi-Oh battles in the schoolyard.
I have Yu-Gi-Oh battles all the time, like with Colin, Kira, and other friends. Like,
so
you know, it was just so much. It was really fun to do.
Yeah, I think to kind of finish us off on this episode, I want to ask you what you think the best looking handheld gaming device has been for you personally. What's, like, when you think of all the handheld consoles that you've played, what did you think was the best looking one?
The DS Lite, not the original DS. That's clunky as fuck. But the DS Lite is the one I had. Did the
DS Lite have a fold? Oh no, of course it would have had to have had a fold.
So it's just basically the 3DS. But it doesn't have the gimmicky nonsense that makes the 3DS more expensive. Like, I mean, some people like the camera, but I don't like the whole 3D thing because I never ever used it. I'm that's an extra €100 gone to nothing. So the DS Lite for me is the best one. But you could argue the 3DS is just as good. It's just nobody ever played games in 3D. You know, it was a gimmick that didn't work.
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Admit it. Like, everyone who played the 3DS turned the slider off after about 10 minutes.
I mean, I did sometimes do for I can't lie, but
it was great looking with the L and R buttons. It just, because it folds, it doesn't have a good analog stick.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't ever play games that would require an analog stick. I'll always either play the Pokemons, the Advance Wars, or the RPGs that are top downs. That's what or maybe even Mario Kart, where it's just left, right as opposed to up and down.
Yeah.
But I never ever needed an analog stick until I played Smash Brothers. It was the only ever time that I was like, fuck, this thing is useless.
I wonder was that Smash Brothers on the 3DS, could it ever have been considered competitive because of how hard it was to navigate when everyone had to use that shifty analog stick? Like,
they were very, very smart. If they had released the Wii U version first and the 3DS version second, nobody would have bought the 3DS.
No, they would. It was a clever move.
They were very, very clever
because, like,
the 3DS one first.
And I think I remember my brother's mate who had he was the Nintendo guy for us, and he had the 3DS Mario Smash Brothers, or Super Mario Smash Brothers. He then went and immediately got the Wii U Smash Brothers afterwards, just like bought both, and I was like, it's the classic Pokemon thing. I'll buy X and I'll buy Y. Like, you know, I get the two.
The amount of times I buy both Pokemon, it's insane.
I think for me, the best looking. I mean, I really enjoyed how the PlayStation Portable looked. It had a real like sleek vibe about it. The buttons were real nice to press as well, and it's analog. Although it was shit, the analog thing was almost like what would you say, like, you know, like kind of like that sieve effect. Like it was like a grate almost on it. It was really, really cool. But like at least the analog stick, the one that we had, was really, really good and like felt really nice in the hands. But there was a cool version of the 3DS you could buy, and it had, the buttons were colored like red, yellow, blue, green, and stuff like that, like the original, like on the Nintendo 64, I think. Or
Why
something
would
like that.
Sony do that?
No, 3DS. Sorry, I'm talking about 3DS
the
now.
3DS,
Yeah. The 3DS version that I had, I can't remember if it was like a special edition or
Well, that's
whatever.
kind of cool, yeah.
But it did have like, it had like certain little licks of color across the actual thing itself. So I was like, this is pretty cool looking. And it was so, like, 3DS was quite small as well, considering
was
what
quite
it
small.
was.
And you could get even a smaller one, and they released a bigger one. I actually had the big one.
Yeah, the 3DS
I wanted the
X-
screen just to be a little bit bigger. Yeah, I liked the way it popped.
And that one folded as well, but it was
folded
massive.
as well, but
Yeah.
it was a little clunkier. Like,
Yeah.
I remember like debating when I was getting the 3DS, it was like the small one and the big one, and just in your hand, I think, because I'm a grown up now, so like the small one was a little too small. Like your hands are quite close together,
Yes.
and it's quite sharp, the edges, whereas the XL was more round on the side, so it was easier to hold in your hand and put your hands over the L and R buttons.
Because I thought,
the
like,
3DS.
playing the small one, for me, I just got like cramps sometimes, especially when you're in like intense games. Like Smash Bros killed me on my tiny 3DS. Like, do you know what I mean? I got like such bad cramps. And I think for me then as well, like what's an iconic looking handheld for me, it is that lime green Game Boy Color. When I see that, like, because sometimes
it looks great though, yeah, it does.
And it had like, because the screen had a little bottom frame part that had Game Boy, and then Color was just written in colorful letters, like
it
in
was
a little
annoying
splash.
to see because they spell color the American way, and I was like, what the fuck is this?
It's like, there's a U in there, like, you sons of a bitch. But I love that, and anytime it's weird, it's like I get this big like kind of burst of nostalgia anytime I see, if I'm watching videos or something like that and someone talks about it, or it's in a picture, you see this like the lime green Game Boy Color. I'm always like, oh, those were better days, you know. It was one of my favorite memories of all time, and I suppose finish up the episode on this, but one of my favorite memories of all time ever is we had the whole family over one Christmas, the year I got the Game Boy Color. So the whole family was up. I was at an age where like my parents were like, oh, everyone's up, stay up kind of late as long as you want or whatever. And I had, because it needed like AA batteries, I had like I was gotten for Christmas as well, this pack of AA batteries as well, because it's like they fucking eats through them. So I had like unlimited supply of like batteries to play my Game Boy Color. And we brought like the extra couch into the main room, because we had people, like all my cousins and all my family were staying over. And I remember sitting on the couch that they brought in, because I thought this was a novelty, like this couch shouldn't be here, sitting on that as a kid playing. Like, I finished Super Mario Land 2 that day and played something else, but sat there for hours, like surrounded by like my cousins and family playing this like Game Boy Color, being like, this is the greatest Christmas I've ever had ever, like, with my little collection of games. And ever since then, I'm like, handheld is top tier for me. Like,
despite the fact that I used the handheld, I rarely ever needed the batteries, because I always had the charge. And I was always on the couch where I could reach it, because I didn't want to be buying batteries all the time. And like, you play Pokemon, you go through the batteries like crazy. You'd be using like 10 in a row.
So did you have like rechargeable batteries that you could put into?
No, never. I just had the adapter that I would buy separately.
Because you couldn't do that for the Game Boy Color?
Yes, you could, yeah. Game Boy Color had a charger that you could buy.
Oh my God, did it really? And I was
Definitely,
going through...
because I had it, you know, and it was...
Because I know there was one for the Advance.
I remember during school one day, I had Pokemon Silver, and I was the first kid in the whole school to get it. And people were crowding around me, looking over to see it. And then one of the dickhead kids just comes in shoving and knocks my Game Boy Color to the ground. And from then on, anytime I plugged the charger in, it would make this really annoying noise. So I had to use the batteries from then on. You know, like...
What an asshole.
Yeah, what an asshole, yeah. That guy's really famous now.
And I still hate his guts.
I still hate his guts, yeah.
I do have to apologize, Craig, because you're right, because we were here to talk about handhelds, and I did kind of push the console.
I knew you would, but I was getting ready to destroy you as soon as you did, you know? Because I was just like, look at this rare opportunity squandered.
Well, if there's any handhelds that you think myself and Craig did not talk enough about that you think deserve a bit more time in the limelight, like the PlayStation Portal, let us know at thegiftofgaming@gmail.com.
Knock your Engage. There's one.
Knock your Engage, yeah. Who wants to play Snake? Or if you're looking for more content, myself and Craig are going to jump on and do a quick battle royale for our post show at patreon.com/thegiftofgaming. You can catch us there as well for the cost of a coffee a month. Craig, it's been fantastic. Thanks for going down a trip down memory lane with me.
Of course.
That was lovely. And to our listeners, as always and forever, keep enjoying the gift that is gaming. Peace out.